All right, gentlemen. We're going to discuss this morning the Wunderbar alcohol dispense system that's being used on the 561 units. Um, this unit basically it's similar to a bag-in-the-box unit with the pump, to the delivery system for syrup. It's just using alcohol instead. So we've got a rack over here to the side that we'll take a look at and kind of give you the information on the components to it, what you have to do, how it works, and that type of stuff. The setup, it's a complete unit when you guys receive it. So the only thing that will probably be detached from it is going to be the float assembly on the top. And the reason for that is we have seen in several cases damaged glass or plexiglass floats because of the shipping of the unit. So we're going to start taking those off. That would be the only thing. The one you'll see here is ready to go. Please, if you have any questions, feel free to ask, stop me, repeat something if I haven't explained it good enough for you.
Is it just on that mounting bracket, that black mounting bracket, or is it that complete cage?
The unit is a complete cage over here. Guys heading over there now, we can take a look at the parts, but the thing that you guys will be getting is this aluminum stand, okay?
Oh, okay.
All right. The other thing you're going to be getting with it is a box that looks like this, and in this box is what they call bottle adapters, okay? These bottle adapters, there's different size bottle adapters that come along in this kit, and these basically, you unscrew the lid of the type of alcohol you're using, take the correct bottle adapter out of the bag, you put 2 washers into this bottle adapter, and this just screws right onto the neck of the alcohol bottle. Okay, then what that allows you to do is when you go onto the dispense system, you turn the alcohol bottle upside down, and you'll see these little keyholes, these little slots in this adapter. These slots line up with tabs that are on the alcohol dispense system. I'll show that to you. And then you twist and lock it in. So the bottle actually sets upside down. Sorry about that, guy. Upside down on the rack itself.
Okay.
Okay?
I'll show you on the rack.
Is there a stop in that cap, Dean?
No.
So once I turn that upside down, it's going to flow out.
Once you turn it upside down, it'll fly. And as Guy zooms into this one, I'll show you. This one's set up. As you see the keys on it.
Yep.
And this one, you can see there's a couple of washers in it.
Yep.
So basically, it's just a through spout. There's nothing, no stopper in it, no anything.
Okay.
So once this is screwed onto here, I'm trying to keep it in your screen. Once this gets screwed onto here, you just invert the bottle over the hopper and twist and lock into position just like that.
Okay.
Okay. Now you'll find, and what we did here is we went and bought a bunch of different bottles of alcohol doing the tests and stuff. It seems like there is no continuity to what the guys use. What the bottles use. Everybody uses some. That's why there's so many different adapters, because of different size bottles and that type of stuff. So there is that box comes with this rack. That box has numerous bottle adapters in it, numerous ones of each size, and numerous types to be used with this rack, just in case. Most of it has to do with the size of the bottle that's used, whether it's the small bottle, smaller bottle of alcohol, or the larger one here. And this is a I don't even remember what size this one is. Doesn't even tell you. But that's the only difference of it. So that's what these are for. You'll get those in the box, and you'll get numerous ones of each one.
Okay. So it's going to be imperative that we do proper training on site with the staff that's going to be using it.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Because then what happens, you can put, the way this rack works, and since we're talking at the bottom, we'll just work from the bottom and go up, if you will.
Okay.
If guy can come into here, you'll see these, can you come in on these numbers? Yeah. You see these numbers on the bottom of this base down here?
Yep.
That coincides with the number that's on the pump. So number 1 down here is number 1 pump. On this number 1 rack, you have 2 places that bottles can go, okay? Underneath this rack is a vat, and that connects these 2 together. So in each number 1, you have 2 bottles of the same alcohol. Number 2, you'd have 2 bottles of the same alcohol, 3 the same alcohol, and 4 the same alcohol. And you get 2 bottles, a capacity of 2 bottles in each one, so for volume of it.
Okay.
Okay, understand that?
Yep.
Okay, so what that does is the pump then, just a standard bib pump up here, that's taking and pulling the alcohol from the vat down below, up through the bib pump, travels down through this check valve, and then it goes up into this float system that's up here. Okay?
Yep.
All right, now the float system is used because we want to still signal an out of syrup device or an out of product device when one of these alcohols is out. Because remember, you're not going to be able to draw a vacuum pulling the alcohol out of the vat like that. So basically what you would do is your pump would just run, your CO2 would deplete, and it would just be a mess, okay?
Right.
So this allows the unit, when you run out of alcohol, there's a float in this system, okay? When that float is down, it allows the pump to create the vacuum, and it shuts it off to the product off the machine. The machine will then signify or signal that you're out of product in that, with that alcohol. All right?
Okay.
So back to, without where we started here, so you've got your pumps here, then you've got your 4 floats, and over to the left-hand side, I don't know if you can see it very well yet, there is a regulator that's on the rack too. Would be a secondary regulator for the 4 pumps that are on this rack.
What are we running as far as CO2?
These are maxing out at 60 right now on this regulator.
Okay.
The request has already gone in that the next group we would get will have an 80 psi max, so that we can run the same 70 to 72 psi to the machine that a standard bag in a box does.
Okay.
Okay. Right now 60, it works fine. It doesn't have any problem. It doesn't show out of. It doesn't create any issues or anything like that.
Perfect.
Okay. So on the top of this float, you see some black tubing. See that good enough right there?
Yep.
Yeah, I know it's kind of hard with all the black. We've got black tubing on black machine and everything else, but
Oh, we can see it.
there's 4 black. Here we go. That one any better? There's 4 pieces of this black tubing. Okay, that's connected to a push to relieve, pressure relief on the top of the float. So this basically needs to go, it would either be into a bucket or a drain. The only time this is used is when you are relieving the pressure, relieving the air out of this float, so that the float will rise.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so to do that, if you, guy will zoom in here. You see at the top of this float assembly is a little push to relief valve. Okay, so if I push that, that opens the pathway so the air inside this float will escape. It'll come out this black tubing, and it'll come out the end of this, the open end of the tubing. Once that float rises, then you can release that. So there may be a small amount. They're not going to want a lot of alcohol to come out of here because it's going to wasting the alcohol because it's just going to be gone down the drain.
Right.
That's the time this is used. Okay. Are we okay with it so far for you guys? Or is there any questions?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. The other piece on this float, you'll see it right down here, is this little lock mechanism. You pull it and you push it. And on these floats, there's also, and I apologize, I don't have one off of it. I don't know if you can see it, but there's instructions on the float also for the operator that tells them what to do. Because once I go through this with you guys and tell you what all the parts are for and what they do, we're going to go through it and tell you what the operator would have to do to clear the out of on the machine. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so this is this little push and pull knob here releases the float inside, okay? So basically, when you go to fill this up, right now, if we were going to fill this unit up, we would come over here, we'd have alcohol down in our bottle down there. We would put the alcohol in, we would go to the float and this knob right here, and it says push in for normal operation, pull to fill. So you would pull that out. They would press this release button on the top. The air would start to escape that would be within this float bowl. Once that air was totally out and the float would rise, they would get the smallest amount of liquid out this black tube. You would release this push to release button, and then you would push this back in because that's to be pushed in under normal operation.
We're really going to have to train the people on site.
What's that?
I was just telling the guys we're really going to have to do a good training on the guys on site.
Well, and we'll have to develop something here too. I mean, obviously this program is taken off very rapidly from the CinemaCon and the Bar and Nightclub show that was in Vegas a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we'll get something developed with step-by-step instructions on what they have to do, and it'll have to be placed close to this rack for them to have an understanding.
Yeah.
Of what they have. I mean, it's obviously it's not quite as easy as just going in and replacing the bag in the box and the out of serve condition clearing itself.
Well, hopefully being in a bar, they're not just regular employees. It'll be somebody that really cares and knows what they're doing.
I think is going to be different. It's right. It's a different type of deal, different type of setup.
Yeah.
We'll just have to see. It's new to everybody. The other thing on this rack as we're going through just what you see on it is when you guys get this rack, you'll see this piece of plexi or plastic tubing, kind of a white opaque color. This is connected to the all the exhaust of the bag-in-the-box pumps that are on this alcohol dispense system. Okay, so this would be used to vent the released CO2 from the bag-in-the-box pump out of an enclosed area.
Okay.
Okay. I know that in most cases with the bag-in-the-box systems that we've used up until this point in our accounts have been in an open area, and we really haven't had to deal with that. But depending on where this rack sits, if it's in an enclosed area, in a cabinet, in a cooler, something like that, you're going to have to exhaust that CO2 out of that room, and that's what that line is already on that on this unit for.
Okay.
Okay. This system is the same system that we're using at the Taco Bell canteen up in Las Vegas. The only difference is theirs is a lot larger. That system is in their cooler, and so we had to route the exhaust CO2 out so that anybody in that cooler wouldn't end up passing out for lack of oxygen.
Gotcha.
And so that's what that's for. So that gives you all the that gives you kind of a rundown of what's on the rack itself. It is all connected, it is all plumbed, it is all ready to go. What you will see when you guys get the rack that you get from us is this is just a plexiglass bowl that's on this float. And this is what we've seen in several instances where we've developed either very small hairline cracks or it's basically broke. And it is because it's set so high up above the rack, and shipping has been a problem. So these units, they use all the John Guest push to connect type fittings. We are going to remove this float assembly and have it in a separate box wrapped up. They just attach to this black panel with some screws. Everything will be with it. So that's the only thing really on this rack that you guys are going to have to assemble, because when we ship it from here, not comfortable at all right now with it going like this because of what we have seen out there. So we're just going to ship it with those off.
Okay.
You'll have to attach those on there, but you're only going to be attaching this one connection right here. And again, that's the push to connect. You'll see another one here. This is the outlet of the float assembly. This can be done either two ways. It does come with this push to connect fitting, or there is actually an elbow that's right on a stainless steel elbow that's right on the float itself, that you can just eliminate this one quick to connect fitting and just come directly onto this barb fitting right here.
Okay.
And that's what we have done. I am not a big advocate of a lot of extra fittings. So from this point,
Fittings, more leaks.
yes?
He said more fittings, more leaks.
Yeah, exactly. So this here, basically it's just running from the outlet of the float. It's going to the back of the 561, and it's hooking into where one of the flavor injected flavors would hook to. Okay?
Yep.
So that's all that this system is doing. It is just an alcohol delivery system. When you get into these units, and I don't again remember exactly what product is going to be used in the systems you guys are setting up, Kevin, but if you're using an injected flavor like a cherry, a strawberry, or vanilla, or anything like that, that would still come through its normal flow from the bag in the box, through the bag in the box pump, up to the back of the machine, and through the flow controls that are in the machine.
Okay.
Okay? So all this unit is doing is it's getting the alcohol from the bottle, from the vat, through the pumps, through the float assembly, to the back of the machine. The float assembly units are required again only because we want to make sure that when we run out of alcohol, the operator knows it, so they can see it on the screen. It's going to show out of just like it would of any product, and then they're going to have to know the process they have to put this back into operation.
Hey, Dean,
Yes.
you may have said this, I stepped out for a second, but those little white devices that are attached down by the pump, what are those?
These are just a check valve.
Okay,
That's all that is.
okay,
And it's just keeping what it does. Obviously, it's going to keep the float primed, so nothing, once that float is full and it's showing that it's got full product, it doesn't drain back down and have any problem with that.
got it.
So that's all those are.
And then, you may have covered this too, are the ratios at the unit different?
Yes, they are. I have not got to that part of it yet.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Well, Dave, what we did is we just started at the rack itself. We've gone through the components on the rack, the delivery system, to the back of the machine. Right now, I'm just going to go over with them, maybe a little bit of redundancy, but what they would tell an operator on how to clear an out of condition. And then we'll look at the machine and kind of go over the what the differences are with the alcoholic product and the settings. And then also, Kevin, I'll send you by email the settings we have so that you don't have to write it down or fool with it now.
Okay.
Okay?
Awesome.
All right, so again, down here at the bottom of the rack, our alcohol, our machine has told us that we are out of the Jack Daniels. We need to refill that. When we come back to this alcohol dispense system, we'll see that both bottles obviously are empty. When they take this off of here, and I don't know if you can look down in there at all, you'll see there's how close you can get to that. You can see what the vat or the little hopper where the alcohol actually goes into. Okay, and then you see that this little spot right down here. That's a connection between both the back ones, so that when you fill one, it actually going to fill the other. You put two of them in, like I say, it gives you double the amount of alcohol. There is a little bit in that the vat holds itself. Okay. With that, with this empty, the other thing they're going to see is they're going to see this float that's in this clear float assembly. It's going to be down, meaning there's no liquid in that line. Okay? So first thing they're going to do is they're going to come and they're going to get a couple of fresh bottles of alcohol. They're going to pull these that were inverted on the rack off, take the bottle adapter off, put this same bottle adapter onto a new bottle of alcohol, a full one, lock it into place, put this on the rack, twist to lock into place, do the same thing for the front one. Okay, so you've got your supply of alcohol filled. Okay, now they're going to come up to the float assembly, and they're going to take this knob on the front of the float assembly, they're going to pull it out, and then they're going to manually press this release button, and that's going to release the pressure that's in this air, this gap that's in this float. The bag in the box pump will start to pump. It'll pull the alcohol up into the float assembly. That float will start to rise. When that float and the float assembly is full of alcohol, they release that relief button there, and they push that tab back in. System is reprimed and ready to go. Okay. Now, again, what we talked about earlier is one rack holds 4 different types of alcohols. One rack can be used for multiple machines, or if they, depending on what they want to use in this, you could put the same alcohol in different for different pumps and have more of the same alcohol, depending on what their volume is. This is kind of all new to us as far as volume and everything goes. Don't know what the accounts are going to do. Don't know how much they're going to sell. This system allows us a lot of flexibility to make adjustments or needs to this, to how this is going to work. If you've got, like this machine here is set up with Coca-Cola, and if you wanted a Jack and Coke or a rum and Coke, you could have one of these systems, one of these pumps pumping the Jack Daniels, one pump pumping the rum. That would be all for this one. If you had another machine with margarita, you could have these 2 other pumps with vodka or tequila or whatever is needed. It has the flexibility to do that with it. Okay?
Makes sense.
All right. Any questions on this? Anything that I need to clear up that I kind of maybe brushed over too fast or didn't explain thoroughly enough?
Oh, I do have a question though. When it goes to sold out, are we seeing it where it's getting weak product up at the machine before it hits the sold out set pressure?
We have not seen any issues. It's basically the same as what it would be if it was an injected flavor, so no.
Okay. So it goes until it's gone, and then it just turns itself off.
And we haven't seen that, so at that point in time, obviously it runs out of Jack, if that's which one it is. The one on the screen for the Jack Daniels is going to be do not use, out of product. If you had rum, you could still have a rum and Coke.
Yeah.
Because this is all just injected flavors. Again, remember, this all comes through just like a flavor injection would, not like the base. This doesn't mix with the base until the base is dispensed out of the faucet itself.
Okay.
Okay, it's a basic 561, again, just dispensing alcohol to the unit instead of dispensing injected flavor to the unit.
Okay.
Okay? You're okay there, we're fine. I don't want to simplify that to the point of, if there's any questions to it.
We're over here now?
Yeah, we're over here now. Okay, so kind of what David had mentioned on the machine settings. Kevin, are you guys familiar with the 561? You guys have these out already?
Yeah.
Okay. So you know that when you do the injected flavor, whether it be you're doing the Coke and it's a cherry and vanilla and they want a cherry vanilla Coke, they're going to push the cherry vanilla, and the Coke obviously is the base. The Coke will dispense as long as the pour button is dispensed and the product is coming out. But your flavor injections, they're going to pulse.
Yeah.
You're going to get vanilla, then you're going to get probably nothing, and then you're going to get cherry, then you're going to get a small point of just base, then you're going to get just vanilla, and it's going to alternate like that.
Right.
The problem with that kind of setup is that depending on the cup size, you're going to get different amounts of one of the flavors or both of the flavors. And with alcohol, we can't do that. We have to have a constant. Okay? So on the EEPROM now, with the alcohol dispense system, is a different EEPROM. Okay? And we're going to go over a couple other differences too, depending on the product that you're using. But with these, you're getting an option in the flavor menu to stream an injected flavor.
Okay.
What that is that basically as long as the pour button is pressed and the unit is dispensing, that one that you have selected to stream will dispense the alcohol. So you're getting the alcohol dispensed throughout the whole time the product is being dispensed. Okay? So you can stream one or more of your injected flavors, okay, separately.
Okay.
Never at the same time, because right now the way this program is designed is when you press, if this one down here, even though it says sold out, has vodka behind it, if we press vodka and we hit this pour button and we were dispensing product, we would get vodka 100% of the time being dispensed as long as we're holding that pour button.
Okay.
Okay? If you were to select two alcohols, it would not dispense both 100% of the time. It would take one and dispense it about 50% of the time, and then the other one for about the 50% of the time. So basically what we have been going through on this is if this machine is cola and they're going to want a Jack and Coke, you're going to hit the Jack Daniel one, you're going to press the pour, and this machine is now a whiskey and Coke or a Jack and Coke unit. Okay? If they want a different drink and they want a rum and Coke, then they would hit the other one that would be rum, and they would dispense. But they would not and should not push the Jack and the rum at the same time.
Gotcha.
Okay? But you can go, and if we wanted a cherry Jack or a cherry Coke Jack, you could hit the cherry and the Jack and dispense. Your Jack will dispense in a stream because that's what you have set it at, but the cherry will still pulse like it does.
Oh, excellent.
Okay, so in this case, if this was a Jack and Coke only unit, you could have a cherry, you could have a vanilla, and you could have a lime flavor shots along with the alcohol itself.
Right.
So you could have a variety of different types of Jack and Coke drink. Okay?
Yep.
So that, again, that is up when you come up into, can you get the screen tight enough so we can show them that real quick? Can you guys see that?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so if you back into here and you go into your service menu like you would, and you go into settings, and you go into flavor settings, okay, and you hit select, you're gonna find your normal flavor settings that you've got. But then you see it says stream flavor 1.
Oh,
Okay.
gotcha.
Okay, and it either says off, or if you hit the select button and the off starts to flash, we could change that to on, hit the select button, stop the flashing. So that would be the same as an injected flavor. So stream flavor 1 would mean this upper left-hand corner, right here, would be, when that was depressed, that solenoid, which would be this far left one, number 1, would be energized as long as the pour button is depressed.
Okay.
Okay. So if we had, again, if this was a machine that was pouring either rum or Jack Daniels, you could have number 1 stream flavor on, and you could have number 2 stream flavor on. But again, the operator cannot select those at the same time. It has to be either or for alcohol.
Right. Because you'd be doubling up.
What's that?
You'd be doubling up.
Yeah, and you're not going to it's not going to be a double shot like people sometimes say,
Right.
well, if I want to shot, if it was 2 jacks and somebody thinks, well, I want a double shot, so I'm going to push both of those jacks, you're only going to still get the same amount of alcohol because you're going to get 50% out of the one solenoid and 50% out of the other one. You're not getting 100% of both solenoids operating at the same time.
Right.
So that is that stream flavor is in this new EEPROM. Okay? The units you guys have, we'll have to get those up to you because it's the 561 that we use under normal operation without alcohol does not offer the stream setting. Okay? So we'll get you the EEPROMs to get up there to you guys so that you can check those out.
Okay.
Okay? Any questions on that? Understand that part?
That's simple enough.
Okay. So if that is off, basically, again, that number solenoid, which one it is just going to pulse by the settings that we have previously set it at, which is our normal base settings. Okay? Just the same as you guys have in the 561s that you already have out there.
Okay.
Okay? So, I'm just going to grab this. Like I told you, what I will send you is this. I'll put this together for you, so that you've got these settings that we've changed. Okay. A couple of other things that have changed in this, and it's kind of more product driven. Okay, is depending on what the product is that's being used in the unit for, is it margarita or is it a Coke base? Depending on what base it is, it's going to kind of depend on what our settings are. Right now, all the alcohol product that we have got, we are running at a lower overrun product.
Okay.
Okay, it's not the same 80 to 100% that we normally have done. And we have taken all of our settings for these units basically and are just using what we have used up at the Taco Bell Cantina. That's kind of was our test units, if you will, the 8 units that are up there. And we worked with it and worked with the Taco Bell group. They wanted about a 30% overrun. And if you look at, like in Vegas, when you go to these places that have the alcoholic beverage, most of them are uncarbonated. They're a heavy product anyway. So
Yeah,
they were trying to kind of match that same product. Okay, so we do have some differences with the settings that we've got that I will send you. It has to do with thaw freeze and the expansion and CO2 pressure.
Okay.
So that you've got that. One of the important parts of it is whichever of these flow controls that are taking and dispensing alcohol is you're using a 5 ounces of alcohol in a 10-second time. Okay, which is different than our 9 ounces in 15 seconds of injected flavor. So alcohol flow rate, 5 ounces in 10 seconds.
Got it.
Now, it's set the same way, and you guys, you've got the 561, so you guys know how to set the flow rates?
Yes.
Correct. Okay. The other thing we want to touch on is when you start putting bottles of alcohol in here, and you start setting flow rates, and you start throwing that alcohol away, you're not going to make the operator really happy about that.
Right.
So the way you want to set your alcohol flow rate is just using water. Okay? Water is about the same viscosity of alcohol. Put the water in the vats where the alcohol is inverted into, and just use water as your product to be dispensed to set that 5 ounces in 9 seconds. Once you have that set, then you can purge the water out, put your alcohol bottle in, and purge your lines to get the alcohol into it. But at least you're not wasting a lot of product in the initial setup of it.
Right.
Okay? Any questions on that?
No, fairly simple.
Okay. So you talked about the settings and the stream, and how you will have certain icons depending on what they are. If they're an injected flavor, the stream will be off. If they're an alcohol being injected, the stream will be on. Again, the stream allows the alcohol to be dispensed at the same time that the base product is being dispensed.
Okay.
Okay, and that's the only thing that's doing. The other thing with this EEPROM is I will give you the settings that we use. We also, I told you the expansion is at 1 and the thaw freeze was at 20. The other thing that we did is we ran the CO2 pressure down to 40 psi. Okay, and with that, we are getting that heavier product. Along with this EEPROM that has the stream setting, FBD also enhanced the settings on that to help the product at that lower overrun.
Okay.
Okay?
Are we setting our bricks different at all?
Nope.
Okay.
Product of the bricks is still going to be your 13 to 14. Your base product is still the same. Nothing changes with that. Nothing changes with your injected flavors as far as the 9 ounces and 15. All that is the very same thing.
Okay.
Okay? And then what you've got on the programming, you can see now that we're out of there, you can see the rum up in the upper right-hand corner. This is the generic, if you will. We're not advertising the type of alcohol being used.
Yeah.
It's basically generic rum, vodka, tequila, and if you want, really? There we go. You can see the different ones along with, again, the strawberry, and the icon design goes with a little bit with, depending on, like, if you're using the margarita transparency, that type of stuff, it goes more with the design of the transparency itself. If it's using Jack and Coke, I think most of them right now are being used in the margarita type base is what, or a daiquiri possibly.
Yeah, I think we're using margarita and pina colada.
Okay. And so that, that's going to be, I don't know what goes into a pina colada, but, that's easy enough to figure out.
Yeah.
Just so you guys are aware, if you're questioned about it, with the settings that we're using, a drink is about 10% alcohol. Okay, which is the standard. Again, all of our settings have come from working with Taco Bell and the requirements that they had in the product profile that they were using that they wanted, and that's what we came up with.
Okay.
So it kind of like just the 561 with the injected flavors. You know, we came up with the flow rates of the injected flavor and the timing and the sequence and all that so that it seemed to work the best with the machine. These settings that you guys will be getting that we've just talked about are the same settings that we're using up at the Taco Bell Cantina, that we've used at the shows, at the CinemaCon and bar and nightclub and all that. And we've had very good results with these settings with it. So it seems, it pours a good drink. It seems to, everybody is pleased with it. So right now, that's where the settings are. I mean, all these settings could be adjusted or changed just like anything, but it's easier if we come up with the settings to use and give you guys just the numbers and the ounces and stuff like that. So that's all you have to deal with.
Okay.
So I mean, obviously, we have only talked really about pretty much the alcohol delivery system, the Wunderbar system. Is there any questions you guys have on the 561 itself? Any questions on the Wunderbar unit? Again, I don't want to brush over this rushing or anything. I want to make sure you guys have an understanding of it. And like anything, give me a call if you have any questions. But if you have anything now, feel free to ask anything that you've got.
We understand the 561 really well. We
Okay,
have
good.
a good handful of them out there. And I don't think we have any questions so far as to that bib rack system. It's fairly simple. I mean, it's not, once you explain it, you can pretty much see how it works.
It is, and just so you guys know, we are working, and I'm working with Wunderbar again. This system is kind of new to everybody. It's been designed, it's been kind of designed for the Taco Bell. We've scaled down the size of the unit for our use for this. Mm-hmm. So a illustrated parts list and some sort of a manual is being worked on by Wunderbar now to help you guys out.
Sure.
So
not seeing any type of failures yet, are we?
Actually, the only thing we're seeing, and what we talked about earlier, would be the cracks in the plexi clear float bowl. And that showed up, we had one, we took it to a show in Northern California. The machine was up and running, and we weren't having any problem. All of a sudden, we went behind it, and the guy that went behind it was getting a nice shower of Jack Daniels because the bowl cracked. And so we're working very closely with Wunderbar on that, too, to eliminate it. We feel the same thing they do, that it's a shipping deal. When you saw the packages they were packing them in, and those float assemblies sticking up so far above the whole rack itself, it kind of fell into place because initially, like the ones in Vegas and the ones we got here now, they weren't having any trouble. We would have trouble after the fact. So I think that that's all it is, and I think we're going to see really not a problem with them once that is done.
Okay.
This is a second generation, if you will, float assembly. And like I said, the Wunderbar is using Taco Bell Cantina also as their training and proving grounds. The first float assembly that we had up there, it was not operating properly. We had a lot of trouble with the out of devices and that kind of stuff. And this is another one. This is, you'll see, it's a pretty heavy duty float assembly. It's a solid stainless. And if I can get a guy to come over here, if you need to, if you look at the top of this housing here,
yeah,
you unscrew that, and then take the lid off. Then you can unscrew this. It's threaded on both sides.
Nice.
And then that would come out. At the bottom, down here in the base, I'm not sure if a guy can get close enough, but there's an O-ring in there, and there's an O-ring on the lid. So these do not have to be torque down to 100 foot-pounds.
Nice.
You just sit up so that they're snug, so that they don't leak, and that will help preserve this too. But this is the piece that we were seeing hairline cracks, and that was being, actually shattered in some cases, but again, with it being so high, Then the float assembly itself, you can see that here with the O-ring seat on it, and it just drops into place. It has the 2 grooves just to plop in there just like that. And this would just, the float assembly, the glass, the plexi would just go in like that.
Yep. Well, you couldn't do it any other way though.
Snug. And snug with the top.
Awesome.
Also seen with that if this tubing had to be routed into a different direction, all you would have to do is loosen that up and position that tubing into a different way and cinch the top part down just snug, and you're done.
Okay. What are we doing as far as like cleaning of that vat down below? Is there worry of bugs getting in there or anything like that?
Right now, we haven't heard anything. Again, I'll get with Wunderbar to see if they recommend anything. There's nothing being done up at the Taco Bell Cantina for it. The bottles are being inverted there, and as soon as that empty bottle is on there, they're removing the empty bottle and putting the full bottle on, and the vats are staying full and covered.
Okay.
So they would have to be. I mean, they'll have to be covered if you wouldn't want an empty one to set open like the guy is showing you right now.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want something like that, but other than that, we haven't seen or got any instructions on any cleaning or anything like that on it as far as that goes.
Do they make a cover for if they only want to run one bottle?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Do they make a cover if they only want to run one bottle?
We can look into that. They do make, and I've already checked with them on this, they do make an enclosure to secure it.
Oh, okay.
Talk to them about, because we're sure that that's going to come into play with the idea of the alcohol on there, and some of these places have a night crew and that type of stuff. Just being able to secure the bottles on board this would be a plus to them. We already know that the 561 is great because they can't dispense it when the machine is off.
Right.
That prevents any theft or anybody trying to drink the spirits from there. We just have to make sure that the full bottles stay secure.
Okay.
And so if a question does come up with that in your accounts, yes, they do have something, and yes, we're working on that with them to see what we need to do to to come up with that locking cabinet, if you will.
Okay.
All right. So you guys comfortable enough with the refilling or the filling of the float assembly and how that works? Again, on the float assemblies, I know it's really hard to see because it's a stainless steel housing with it looks like an aluminum label with black letters, but I think you can see somewhat there. But that's telling you to pull to fill and push in for normal operation.
Okay.
And this one just tells you push down to vent and refill chamber. So it is on here, but yes, we will come up with something, and hopefully we can maybe get something, guy, that do them before their account goes live, just to help them, because we'll explain it to the operators and stuff, but operators change, and you don't need calls on just how to how to clear the out of device.
Yeah. Other than that, it's pretty well straightforward.
It really is. It's really not a lot of difficulty to the unit itself. Again, if you think about it, what we're very used to and familiar with is a syrup delivery system. This is basically the same system, only it's not in a bag in a box. It's out of a bottle and then a little vat.
Yeah.
And after, it's just going through. The only other difference again is the float assembly. And understanding why that float assembly has to be there, it's unfortunate they can't just fill the bottle, because we have to have something to allow us to create that vacuum, and then to break that vacuum to refill and to clear the out of condition on the unit.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Like I said, we'll get you, I'll check with you or give you a call later. We can figure out, how many you need, what's going on with that. And we'll work with the illustrated parts list, but, when you guys get to this, you have any questions, please feel free to just give me a shout, to go over anything you may want to.
Okay, sounds good. I think we're only going to need one rack for the 3 machines because each alcohol is only one.
Okay. And that makes sense, and that's easy enough, and like I said, that's very simple to do. That's not a big deal, the way this rack is set up, and, just so we've never had any volume problems. Like, granted, the Taco Bell one, it's a big 8 machines, but in some cases, there is the same alcohol in each machine. The
Okay.
vat may be larger, it may hold 4 bottles instead of 2, but we were able to tee off, and basically at least 4 of those machines, if not 6 or so, are being fed out of the same vat and out of the same pump.
Oh, okay.
It's, they have multiple machines, the chances are they're not gonna be pulling both out of the same anyway, and there has not been a problem doing it that way, even at trade shows and stuff with very high demand, very high, use of the unit. We haven't had a rack per machine. We've had 1 bottle, 1 pump, serve multiple machines with the same alcohol.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right, as long as you guys are okay with it, I don't have any other info on this. Like I said, you're okay with the 561, no questions on that. Should be okay.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir.
All right, guys, appreciate your time. Thanks very much.
Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks a lot, Dean. Appreciate you doing this today.
No problem.
My mouse went dead.